I got rained on. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing well and having a wonderful day. I want to go over chapter 13, Love Heals Beyond Stress, Learning to Cope and Lessen Anxiety, from our Love Heals book. And this is the beautiful photo that they have here. I love that teacup, and then it has purple flowers, even better. So I'm going to read the poem that she has at the beginning. Dancing with Cicadas. The cicada's high-pitched, wavy, timbal song commences. It feels like stress incarnate in sound. It builds from white noise into the forefront of thought, pushing peace to the recesses of memory. The woods buzz like a loud club, where noise rises beyond reason. People are drowned out of thought. It sounds like techno music, suddenly calling us to the dance floor. Translucent disco wings beating. The pulsing sound shifts from stressful to delight with dervish drumming. I hope they don't quiet down until I feel dizzy from this dancing. The cicada is not made to stress, but to help us find rhythm and dance. I boxed around the first sentence of this chapter, as I have done in many chapters before. And this one says, stress can kill. 3 words that really drive the point home. We put ourselves under so much stress sometimes it's undue. I know that we're never going to be rid of stress. It's just that's life, and there's lots of things that happen, things that we deal with, work stresses. If you have chronic illness, there's stress with just having a family, raising a family, all of the things of life, right? But a lot of times we add to that by worrying and overthinking and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and read this first paragraph and actually I will probably read this first page because there's just some really great nuggets that I think will help us to learn how to cope with stress and lessen the stress and lessen the anxiety as well. Slowly but surely, it tightens our chests, increases our heart rate, causes our stomachs to ache, stiffens our necks, and manifests itself in a million other ways within our bodies. The effects of stress have been studied on children, prisoners, people in power, parents, and throughout various socioeconomic classes. In a study reported by CBS in 2003, researchers demonstrated how chronic stress can actually kill people. No one is immune to stress, but we can learn to manage it by developing daily coping skills and setting long-term paths that will offer us freedom. While we wait for time to do its healing work, dealing with stress means seeing the details right before us, and the bigger picture, both of which lead us to healing. So, when I first read this, and it talked about how the stress manifests in our life, at that very moment, I was dealing with a stomach ache, like really painful stomach. Today I'm feeling a little better, but I'm just hoping it doesn't. Sorry. I'm hoping that it doesn't get any worse, but for a couple days there, it had done this, like over time, it would get better and get worse, get better, get worse. So yesterday was pretty bad, and the day before. And then it talks about stiffen our necks, and I've been having a lot of issues with my neck, with neck pain, where I can barely move it. Today I'm able to move it a little more. It still hurts, but it's not as bad. Headaches as well. And I think about this, and I think when I stress out, like when I've talked about having to deal with a confrontation or deal with something that stresses me out, my body shuts down. I start feeling sick. I get a headache. My stomach hurts. I feel like my whole body's shaking inside. And that's what this reminded me of. And it made me realize, what stress am I putting myself under? Or at least made me aware that I was doing something that was causing me stress because I was feeling so bad. And a lot of the chronic illnesses that I deal with, and probably others that watch this, they are exasperated by stress. I think I used the right word. So the fact that there are studies that say the stress can actually kill people, like that, I think it's something I've known for a long time. But you know how it is? It's like you just put that in the back of your mind because it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me until you're sitting here with, extreme stomach pain, your neck, you can't move because of the pain, or the migraines are so bad you can barely see, all that type of stuff. It can get really, really bad really quickly. And the next part of this, she talks about an English theologian of the 19th century, Friedrich D. Morris. He wrote about the dis-ease of busyness and how it causes stress, a depleted spirituality, and a decline within the ranks of the church. He wrote that the busyness that causes harm to us come from our distrust of God. We search frantically for things to give us peace, but the search leaves us restless. Morris was not saying that we can't be busy. He was saying that we need to be busy with things that matter in this world. When we make our busyness the focus of our life and worth, we become stressed, restless, and unhealthy. And I think, that just, the way I've seen this before, the way she has spelled out disease, it's dis/ease. Like all of the issues that we have is a dis-ease in our body, in our mind, in our spirit, in our hearts, whatever it is, and it's causing us to become stressed, restless, and unhealthy. And it's really hard because we're, especially as Christians, we're supposed to trust God to be our refuge, our provider, our protector, be everything to us, right? And so when we're allowing the busyness to take over and to cause all this stress to us because what happens is, a lot of times, I know for me, I'll keep myself busy when I want distraction from something I'm feeling. Instead of facing the thing head on, I get distracted with busyness, and I don't have to deal with it, and I don't have to give it to the Lord, and I don't have to, it's all this kind of stuff. And I think it does come from a distrust of God. It's like, I don't think that I distrust him, but then when I think about what I'm feeling, how I'm acting, what I'm allowing to take my joy and my hope away, that takes my joy and hope away from me, it is that I'm not trusting him fully. When we learn how to manage the demands on our lives and cope with the worries of the day, we're putting our faith into practice, and we are healthier for it. So knowing that he is going to provide, knowing that he's going to protect us, knowing that he's going to be there, never leave us or forsake us, then when we face a trial, we face something hard, it shouldn't be impossible for us because we just give it to him. We trust that when we have to let go of things, or we need to deal with whatever is going on in our bodies or with a family member. Oh, excuse me, I don't know. It's going to be 4 o'clock and I'm like feeling a little weird. Like I'm getting tired. I don't know if my sugars are dropping because I'm feeling kind of there's a fun hiccups. So it's like I'm not feeling hungry. And this is kind of part of the stomach issues where it feels like I'm full. Like granted, the Mounjaro does that, but I just took it last night and I've already been feeling like this for a while. But it's like this full, but it's more of a bloating feeling, and it just gives me the hiccups, and it drives me crazy. You could hear that. My dog's, now he's knocking on the door. I just went out for him a while ago and he didn't want to come in. So let me go ahead and get through this chapter. Then I will let him in because it's almost time to go make dinner anyway. So the next thing I put down here was, I know that if I make time for God, God will make time for everything else. Now, the quote, this comes from a woman who she knew that had 11 children, who would go to mass every day in the morning. That's how she started her day, to a mass that was nearby, at a nearby church. And that's what was helping her to deal with the stress and demand on her life with 11 children and everything that comes along with that. And she says here, she was not stressed, and the peace emanating from her heart taught me a great lesson to carry into my work and motherhood. So like when we see that, and that's what's so important about sharing our testimonies and sharing the things that God is doing for us with others, because it can help us to see things differently and hopefully put into practice something that will bring us closer to Him and make us feel better. Now, the next part is called long-term faithfulness. It says, Jesus taught the disciples how to manage stress with His beautiful call, "Do not worry." And so at this time, she's sharing about the beginning of their journey to Jerusalem and all the stress that came with that, because there was, crowds around them a lot. There was religious authorities that were coming against them. There was, they were struggling with violence and all sorts of things that were happening. And as this was going on in the midst of it, Jesus stopped and asked them this simple question: can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Matthew 6:27. When Jesus uses the word worry, I think of it as another word for stress. When we worry about our lives, about the day what the day holds, or if we will be okay, we become distracted and stressed and lose our way. Jesus reminds us that in the midst of all the busyness, suffering, and fear, we do not have to worry. Our loving God gives us all we need. God promises that our lives will have meaning and we will live forever. There is no better assurance to relieve our stress. This is the part that I think that we need to be in our word all the time. We need to stay in our word. We need to be in prayer and walk closely with Him and stop getting distracted by all the other things outside of that, because that does cause stress, right? So here she gives a few things that are some practices, short-term practices that can help us relieve stress. So the first one is pray daily. So we need to focus on our faith. We need to give the things to the Lord. She shares Matthew 6:9-13, which is the Our Father prayer. That should be in the forefront of our mind. This go to Him, take everything to Him, because He will give us what we need. The second time is create free time. So in the midst of all your busyness, that you think you have to be busy with this and that and whatever, take some time to do some things that bring you joy. Whatever that is. If it's something to think about things, come up with plans for things that you want to do. If you want to go and just do something fun, take a nap, do some writing, exercise, whatever it is, it brings you joy. You need to give yourself some freedom for that. The next thing is develop healthy sleep rituals. This is one thing I struggle with. So this is to find ways to create your sleeping space. What you have around you, how you have your room set up, whatever you need to let yourself feel your heart slowing and breath deepening so you can truly rest in peace. Daydream, she says. Here's to feel inspired by new thoughts. So one thing she shares here is daydreaming has allowed artists to paint and writers to find muses. Daydreaming reduces stress and gives us glimpses of new possibility. So this could be like projects that you want, or if you have creative things that you want to do, daydream about them, see where it leads you, but don't get stuck there, because I know that's a problem. I know it's been a problem for me where I just continuously would get stuck in daydreams and never have a follow through. Keep a student's heart. So never stop learning, reading, and listening. If you are always like, this is it. This is what I know. This is all I'm going to do. I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to do whatever. You're going to be stressed out. Because we're to, we're growing all the time. We should be growing spiritually in our knowledge, just in all the ways that the Lord has provided for us. So find new things, if it's gardening or sewing or whatever, just something to learn and have fun with and help, get our brains working. Understand pain as a teacher. So we need to look at what pain can teach us. So is it teaching you to rely more on the Lord, rely more on other people when you're too independent, too stubborn? Are you able to now see that you need the help? And are you allowing for people to come into your life and sharing your life with others? Are you relying fully on the Lord, because that's who we need to rely on? Are we asking for help when we need it, and humbling ourselves and not living in pride? There are times we need to get tough and bear through it. That is true. And there are times that we can let go and let others help us and just, allow the Lord to work in our lives. Pain gives us hard lessons, but when we can see it as a teacher, it can show us what we need to change and help us find the way to relief and healing. The next one is laugh. We don't need to take everything so seriously, especially ourselves. And she talks about this circle that they have at Thistle Farms, where they get, in a circle and they laugh, they cry, they do, it's about that humor, finding humor in the hard times, because we need that. We need laughter and that joy. And the last things that she talks about here is working through stress helps us discover peaceful places where we feel hopeful about what tomorrow will bring. It assures us that love is healing us every day. So God, even if we don't see it, He is healing. He is moving in your life every day. So she shares here, these are things to remember. Remember that if you stress because you feel like your glass is half empty most of the time, your cup may be too big. Maybe you're expecting too much. Maybe you're expecting too much out of yourself and expecting all these, things to happen, when we just have to, kind of adapt to the situation, adapt to our season of life. Speak kindly to others. Count your blessings every day. Build your faith in the long and short term. Love heals beyond the stress and calls us to make time for God and find His peace. She shares a part here of Psalm 131. Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I concern myself with great matters, nor
with things too profane. Okay, let's do that all over again.
Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I concern myself with great matters, nor with things too profound for me. Surely I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with his mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forever. And that is where we find our hope, is in the Lord. That's who we need to hold on to. That's who we need to trust. That's who we need to take our hardest things, our stresses, our worries, and all the things that are heavy, and the burdens that we're bearing, take them to Him, because He alone can help you. He, that is the only place in the Lord that we find hope, that we find a place of rest, that we will gain grace, we will gain mercy, and that's where we find salvation. And those are the most important things. And the best thing to do is stay in the Word. Read your Bible every day, even if it's just a little bit. Pray. Ask the Holy Spirit to guide you to whatever it is that you're reading, through what you're reading, to understand it, to learn how to apply that to your life, to see who God is, and to trust Him and His promises. And, just find ways to learn how to deal with stress and lessen your stress. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm trying to learn. And as I go through that process, I will share some of the things that I'm learning. One thing I know for sure that does help me is taking a walk outside. Painting has been really good for me, more so than even writing. Writing does help, but I I'm still stuck in the perfectionist writing attitude still. Don't misspell things. Don't do, it's this thing. Even like these videos, I'm learning to just let myself, make my mess ups and chalk them up as mistakes, and it's fine, and move on, learn from the mistake, and grow and learn to be better next time. All right, guys, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. God bless you. Bye. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Philippians 4:6.